Ever had the feeling you were being watched? It was a late night, and I'd just left the comfort of a bustling bar. The echoes of laughter and clinking glasses were quickly replaced by the eerie silence of the night. My footsteps echoed off the deserted streets as I made my way to my car, parked just a few meters away. The night was ordinary, but an unsettling feeling of unease began to creep over me. I shook off the feeling, attributing it to the late hour and perhaps one drink too many. I unlocked my car, the metallic click barely audible against the silence of the city. Settling into the driver's seat, I started the engine, the soft hum of the car offering a small semblance of comfort. Pulling out onto the street, the headlights cut through the blanket of darkness that had enveloped the city. The streets were quiet, almost too quiet, amplifying the sound of my tires against the asphalt. The city that was usually so vibrant and full of life seemed like a ghost town, its inhabitants tucked away in their homes, oblivious to the world outside. As I navigated through the silent streets, a flicker in my rearview mirror caught my attention. A dark vehicle, unassuming at first glance, had appeared out of nowhere. It maintained a consistent distance, its headlights a pair of menacing eyes in the darkness. I made several turns, each one more random than the last, hoping to lose the tailing vehicle. But it remained, persistent and unyielding. A chill ran down my spine as the realization hit me. This was not a coincidence, nor a product of my paranoia. I was being followed. The once familiar streets now felt threatening and hostile. Each shadow a potential hiding spot, each corner a potential ambush. The once comforting silence of the city was now an ominous whisper of danger. The streets were nearly deserted, save for one dark vehicle that lurked in my rearview mirror. My heart pounded as the car maintained its distance, mirroring my every move. A shiver ran down my spine as the reality of the situation dawned upon me. I was being pursued. The dark, menacing silhouette of the car was a constant in my rearview mirror, a chilling reminder of the relentless chase. Despite my best efforts to shake it off, the car clung to my trail like a shadow in the night. The city streets were a labyrinth, but the dark car was a minotaur, unyielding and terrifying. I pushed the pedal to the metal, speeding onto the highway, hoping against hope to lose this tailing beast. But the car accelerated, matching my speed, its headlights glaring in my mirror like a predator's eyes. The highway was a blur of dimly lit signs and fleeting shadows. My grip tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles turning white under the strain. I could feel beads of sweat trickling down my forehead, my heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of the engine's roar. The anxiety was palpable, a constant drumming in my ears, drowning out the world around me. Every turn I took was mirrored by the relentless pursuer, every lane change an echoed dance. The dark vehicle was a mirror image, a haunting reflection of my desperation. The exit signs were a blur as I swerved off the highway, taking the Oak Park exit, but the black car followed, unrelenting in its pursuit. The red light on the dashboard flickered ominously, a low fuel warning that sent a wave of panic through me. The realization hit me hard. I was running out of time and options. As the dark car maintained its chilling pursuit, I knew I was running on borrowed time. I found myself speeding down an old wooded road, the dense forest a dark wall on either side. The headlights of the pursuing car loomed menacingly in the rearview mirror, a chilling reminder of the relentless chase. Every turn I made, the dark car followed. There was no escaping it. Fuel was running low, and so were my options. The red warning light on the dash flickered, a cruel reminder of my dwindling chances. Anxiety knotted in my stomach. The rearview mirror reflected the relentless pursuit of the black vehicle, its headlights a pair of menacing eyes in the darkness. I knew I had to make a move, and soon. I pressed the pedal to the metal, the engine roared, and my car surged forward. My headlights sliced through the inky blackness, revealing a dense forest on either side of the winding road. The looming trees felt like an audience, silently watching the desperate chase unfold. The fuel gauge dropped, and my heart pounded in sync. Every second counted, every choice mattered. The road twisted and turned, but the dark car remained, a phantom in my mirror. The forest was thick, and the path was getting narrower, but I pushed on, hoping against hope to shake off my pursuer. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope emerged from the darkness. An old wooden church stood like a beacon in the night. It was nestled amongst the trees, its silhouette a stark contrast against the moonlit sky. It was a gamble, but it was all I had. I veered off the road, the tires screeching in protest, and the car skidded to a halt in front of the church. I leaped out, the cold night air biting at my skin, and sprinted towards the sanctuary. The wooden doors groaned as I pushed them open, and I slipped inside, praying for safety. Behind me, the black car came to a stop. I could feel the pursuer's gaze on the back of my neck, could hear the crunch of gravel under their boots as they followed me into the church. My breaths were ragged, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. An old wooden church ahead, my only hope. I bolted from the car, seeking refuge in the church. The quiet sanctuary of the old wooden edifice was a harsh contrast to the terror I had just fled. The scent of age-old timber and the faint echo of prayers whispered over decades were my only companions in the dimly lit nave. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drum echoing my fear. Sweat trickled down my face, the cold air inside the church doing little to cool my fevered skin. Every creak, every whisper of wind against the old stained glass windows sent a shiver of dread down my spine. I pressed myself further into the shadow of the altar, my breath ragged and uneven. I strained my ears, listening to the night. It wasn't long before the ominous sound I had been dreading reached me. Footsteps. The pursuer had entered the church. A new sound soon joined the chorus of my terror, a sound that brought with it an unexpected glimmer of hope. The distant wail of a siren, growing louder with each passing second. The police were coming. My mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. Had someone seen the chase? Had they called the police? The questions swirled around my mind, but I had no answers. All I knew was that help was on its way. The footsteps inside the church faltered. The pursuer too had heard the approaching sirens. A moment of silence hung in the air, a battleground of wills. Would he continue his pursuit, or would the prospect of capture be enough to deter him? The decision was made in a heartbeat. The footsteps echoed once more, this time retreating, growing fainter and fainter until they were swallowed by the night. The pursuer had bolted. The threat had passed. The relief that washed over me was palpable, a sweet release from the terror that had gripped me. As the police stormed the church, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, I knew I was safe. The final standoff had ended, not with a bang, but with the echo of retreating footsteps. Footsteps echoed in the church, growing louder and louder. As the sirens grew louder, the pursuer hesitated, then bolted. Suddenly, the darkness of the church was shattered by flashing blue and red lights, painting a surreal tableau of fear and relief. The night that had been so oppressing was now a beacon of hope. The pursuer, startled by the sudden intrusion, froze for a split second, caught in the stark illumination of the police lights. That moment of surprise was all I needed to finally get a good look at him. The man who had been trailing me, hunting me through the city's labyrinthine streets, was someone I recognized. The realization hit me like a cold wave, chilling my blood and sending a shiver down my spine. It was a face I'd seen earlier that night, in the crowded bar, blending into the background, unnoticed, unremarkable. His eyes, now wide with fear, were the same ones that had watched me from afar, calculating, predatory. I was shocked, my mind racing to understand how I'd ended up here, targeted by a man I'd barely given a second glance. But there was no time to dwell on the why. The police were here, and I was safe. The sirens that had sounded so ominous before now played a symphony of salvation. The pursuer, realizing his game was up, made a desperate dash for the exit. But the police were faster, swarming the old wooden church, their authoritative presence overpowering the sinister atmosphere that had clung to the place moments ago. I watched as they chased him down, their determination matching the desperation of the man they were pursuing. In the midst of the chaos, a couple of officers stayed behind. They approached me with gentle steps, their faces radiating empathy and concern. They offered me words of comfort, their voices a soothing balm to the terror that had consumed me. I was safe. The nightmare was finally over. Relieved and safe, I was comforted by the officers. The nightmare was finally over.